Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, and of course Arnie does too. It's thought that there are around 10,000 zoos on this planet today. Zoos in themselves are very controversial, as some offer adequate space and enrichment, but others show little animal care at all, and lead to animals having miserable lives. Zoos give people the opportunity to see animals that they would not see in the wild, and responsible zoos are involved in conservation breeding. Despite this, many people and animals hate zoos, and some crafty members of the animal kingdom are able to escape them. In this video I will be focusing on these animals, as I'll be going through 5 zoo escape artists. And for our first species we'll be heading to the Himalayas, as we have the red panda. These pandas are normally found in mountainous forested areas, with understories of bamboo. Despite its name, it's not closely related to the giant panda, and is more closely related to raccoons and weasels. Despite this, it is the only living member in its family, although it does have some extinct family members. Despite not being closely related to the giant panda, it does have a slightly similar lifestyle. Almost all their diet is made up by bamboo, but red pandas tend to only eat the young leaves instead of the stalks, as this food has very little nutrients. Just like the giant panda, they have to spend most of their day eating. In my opinion, this is one of the cutest animals in the world, and are only slightly bigger than a domesticated cat. These animals are largely sedentary in the day, and are very happy with life in the trees. They have 5 curved digits on each foot, each with semi-retractable claws. They also have very flexible joints and false thumbs, and all these adaptations make them great climbers. Today the red panda is listed as endangered, with there thought to be fewer than 10,000 red pandas left in the wild. Habitat destruction is one of their main problems, as there's an increasing human population in their area. This species is also illegally poached, and although this is illegal throughout much of their habitat, the laws are not strictly enforced. Keeping pandas in zoos can help educate people on their peril, and it's possible that people would care more about their conservation if they've seen them in the flesh. There are also successful captive breeding programs with these pandas, yet they prove to be one of the most troublesome animals to keep. They have escaped from multiple zoos in England, Germany and America, with Rusty the red panda escaping from the Smithsonian National Zoo just 3 weeks after moving there. As they're such good climbers, they usually escape through overhanging trees. And one red panda in Dresden, Germany was knocked out of a tree by a fire hose when it escaped and fell 30 feet to the ground. Luckily this red panda was okay and was transported back to his enclosure. These red panda escapes have led to something called the red panda effect. In 1978, when a red panda escaped from Rotterdam Zoo, more than 100 people reported seeing it. Unfortunately, this red panda had died a few days after its escape, but still the reports kept coming in. So although they don't seem to make it very far, these cute animals are among the best escape artists. But for our next species, we'll be heading to the west coast of South America, as we have the Humboldt penguin. These birds are normally found on rough, rocky coasts along much of the west side of South America. The Humboldt penguin and the cold water current in which it swims in are both named after the explorer Alexander von Humboldt. This cold current is one of the only reasons why they can live in such a warm place, and this current also brings with it lots of food and nutrients. In these waters they are great swimmers and generally feed on fish, shrimp and squid. Some of their closest relatives are the African penguin and the Galapagos penguin, and reach a relatively small size of around 70 centimeters tall. These penguins have relatively sharp claws on their webbed feet, and this helps them to grip onto rocks in their habitat, meaning that they can move across the rugged landscape. These birds often share their beaches with sea lions, and although they sometimes hunt them in the water, they are often too slow and sluggish to go after them on land. As these are relatively small penguins, they're very popular in zoos and are relatively easy to care for. But this isn't the story for one very famous penguin, simply known as Penguin 337. This penguin both sounds like a secret agent and also acts like one. He once lived in an aquarium in Tokyo, but he soon grew sick of his surroundings, jumped up a sheer rock wall and through a wire fence. After this he was free and spent an amazing 82 days on the run. He briefly achieved celebrity status around the world, as he was later filmed swimming in Tokyo Bay. He seemed to like his new life in an alien country and was happily gorging on fish. After he was captured, it was feared that he'd be underweight, but instead he was quite healthy, and it seemed that he loved life in Japan. When he was finally captured, he was 5 miles away from where he started, and this has to go down as one of the most successful animal escapes in the world. But for our next species, we'll be heading to Africa and Southwest Asia, as we have the honey badger. Now the honey badger has a reputation for being very mean. It's known to take on animals far larger than itself, and has a very feisty personality. Because it has such a wide range, it can be found in a wide variety of habitats. Despite its name, it does not closely resemble other badger species, and has more in common with weasels. In fact, it is the only living species in its genus, and is the only living animal with its attitude. It will often raid beehives in search for both bee larvae and honey, but they do have a very wide diet, and will eat both vegetable matter along with small reptiles and mammals. Fortunately, the honey badger has a stable population in the wild, and hopefully it will stay like that for many years to come. Despite being mostly fearless, they are preyed upon by some of the top predators in Africa, yet they will fight to the end. Honey badgers have all the tools to become great escape artists, artists, as they're very intelligent and they are also great diggers. They will often search their enclosures for tools and other things that they can use to escape. The best honey badger escape artist was known as Stoffel. This honey badger was hand raised by a farmer, where he caused much chaos in the home. He was brought to a wildlife rehabilitation centre in South Africa and was allowed to roam free with 2 female honey badgers. These 2 females were eventually released back into the wild, but Stoffel had to stay because humans had imprinted on him at such a young age. At this rehab centre he caused havoc, killing small bucks, rabbits, and even an adult tawny eagle. He even once escaped and travelled to a local lodge, where he chased the kitchen staff around the kitchen. Eventually he was given a 1/4 hectare enclosure. He somehow managed to escape from this and ended up fighting with some lions at the centre. This hospitalised Stoffel and he wouldn't leave the hospital for 2 months. When he was put back in his enclosure, he immediately tried to get back at the lions to go for round 2. He even escaped multiple times after this, and if you want to see a video of Stoffel, I've left a link in the description down below. So I think Stoffel wins the award for the feistiest escape artist. But for our next species, we'll be heading to the rainforests of Indonesia and Malaysia, as we have the orangutan. There are currently 3 species of orangutan alive today, and these species are the most arboreal of the great apes. They spend the majority of their life in trees, and to help them with this lifestyle, they have proportionately long arms and short legs. The sexual dimorphism in this species is very apparent, and dominant adult males develop distinctive cheek pads. Fruit is the most important component of their diet, but they will also eat other vegetation, bark, honey, and insects. They can live up to 30 years in the wild, but unfortunately their home is decreasing in size. All 3 species are considered critically endangered, as human activities have caused severe declines in their populations. Poaching for bushmeat is still a massive problem, and deforestation for palm oil cultivation and logging have also led to their decline. It's very depressing that we treat one of our closest relatives this way, but hopefully with more education and conservation, this will soon turn round in the future. As these are such intelligent animals, they prove to be quite a handful in captivity, no more so than Ken Allen. Ken Allen was a Bornean orangutan at the San Diego Zoo, and became one of the most popular animals in the history of the zoo. He had many successful escapes, and because of this was nicknamed the Hairy Houdini. Ken Allen was born in captivity, and it took him just over a decade to plan his first escape. He seemed to know when he was being watched, and would sneak out when no one was looking. He managed to undo many locks, and often climbed to his escape. One of the best things about Ken Allen was that he was a very peaceful soul. Instead of going on a rampage and attacking people, he would peacefully stroll around the zoo and look at the other animals. It seemed he would even teach other orangutans to escape, and the zoo had to spend $40,000 to eliminate any escape routes. Near the end of his life, Ken Allen developed prostate cancer and was euthanized on December the 1st, 2000. He will definitely go down in history, and he's left behind a pretty impressive legacy. But for our next species, we'll be heading to North America, as we have the raccoon. Now, as most of you who watch these videos are from North America, I won't bore you with too many facts about raccoons, because I'm sure you already know them. Although they often scavenge for the food left behind by humans, they are very impressive foragers in their own right, and they also have some quite impressive hands. They are some of the most dexterous hands in nature, and these hands are also very sensitive. They often feel around in water sources for food, and these hands help them find their way into many people's homes. Although they are wild animals, some people choose to keep them as pets, and one even resided in the White House. This raccoon was named Rebecca and lived with Calvin Coolidge for part of his presidency. As raccoons are so intelligent and adaptable, they can be big problem invasive species. They are invasive in large parts of Europe and Asia, so raccoons that have escaped from zoos can cause big problems. And this is where we move on to Missy. Now, Missy's story is very close to home for me, as Missy is only a short drive away from where I live. She inhabited a small zoo in Somerset, but she obviously wanted to live life on the wild side. Her enclosure was very structurally sound, but after heavy flooding, the ground around her enclosure softened, and she was able to use her hands to dig free. Missy was on the run for 5 weeks, but was eventually found in a disused building behind her enclosure. So although she didn't go far, it was still an impressive escape. But that's about it for this video. If you have any other video suggestions, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.